Camp is camp. It's tough, but it's for me to want to push myself. This is what I do. This is what I live for. I'm ready for battle. I feel like I'm getting stronger, and I feel by the time the fight comes, I'll be at peak performance.
One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
It's unbelievable how far and how wide sports can take you and the things that you get access to.
Anthony Joshua has kicked off his training camp as he prepares for his upcoming clash with Jake Paul, which is being lined up for December 19th. Now that the matchup is locked in, Joshua has gone straight to work, entering camp with sharp focus and the mindset you'd expect from a former heavyweight champion. On the other side, Jake Paul continues to draw massive attention in the boxing world. His journey from YouTube fame to the pro ranks has been controversial, but undeniably effective. This time, though, he's stepping in with a fighter who brings elite experience, proven power, and years at the top level.
The second leg of the training camp. I'm feeling energized. I'm feeling refreshed. So yeah, come inside, have a look what's going on. Tough training, tough lifestyle, rough and tough. But listen, how else would I want it? I love it. So what am I bringing differently? I wouldn't say a new mindset, but definitely like a new perspective. But ultimately, everything new has to lead to a win. So yeah, that's what I'm focused on right now, is just winning. With training camp, it's grueling, like there's no doubt about that. But you just need to have a clear mind and be optimistic and run towards challenges every day. And that's how I'm able to get through, is just the perspective I have on what suffering looks like. There's a certain standard that one has to have if they want to achieve certain things. I am working past efforts, measures that I set out for myself. Yes, it's tough. Yes, I'm tired.
Mike Coer revealed that the matchup between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul has been finalized, set to take place in December 2025 in Miami. The event is expected to air on Netflix as an officially sanctioned heavyweight bout.
Mentioned earlier that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now, because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul over a deal for a heavyweight fight in Miami next month. Of course, the YouTuber Paul has already fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, and beaten him. And he's now in talks with Anthony Joshua with a view to the two of them fighting in Miami next.
Hearn has disputed some of the earlier claims. He did confirm that the fight is happening, but clarified that it will take place under standard Queensberry rules rather than as an exhibition. Hearn emphasized that there won't be any special adjustments, no oversized gloves, no shortened rounds. The bout will feature regular 10-ounce competition gloves, an agreed number of professional rounds, and the traditional rules set used in pro boxing.
In Ring Magazine, Anthony Joshua, your man, and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a December heavyweight fight in Florida. True or false?
I mean, the gun was jumped a little bit and fired early. There have been conversations. For us, we were flirting with the idea of having this little 8-round fight this year. Not with Jake Paul, by the way, because he was fighting Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's not.
But we were going to go on a other card somewhere. You wouldn't have really heard of the person we were going to fight. But AJ wanted to go through the motions, wrap the hands, and just gear up to what is really in the works with Turki Al-Sheikh, which is 2 fights in 2026, and that includes Tyson Fury. That's the plan for Turki Al-Sheikh. We received a phone call from Nikisa Baldirian, from MVP, who, by the way, we've spoke to a few months before talking to us about the fight. And he said, look, would you want to fight Jake Paul? And I said, listen, I don't want to just be a publicity muppet for you, you know, telling everybody that you offered the fight to Anthony Joshua. If you're serious, we can discuss the numbers. And if there's a chance for us to run out in December and, you know, take care of this bloke and get him out of the boxing world and make several tens of millions in the process, of course, we will consider it. And that's basically where we are at now.
And do the numbers stack up?
Of course. I mean, like, you know, it's difficult to have this conversation. I think sometimes you just need to
explain to Sky Sports that they have no intention of staging an exhibition. If Jake Paul wants a matchup, it will be a real, fully regulated fight at an agreed-upon weight. However, Hearn also made it clear that the agreement isn't finalized yet. According to him, the chances are still about 50-50, with several key discussions remaining before anything becomes official.
Extremely dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I've got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please, AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so we can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight. But I truly believe you're going to.
Hearn remarked that Jake Paul is bold enough to chase this fight, despite the fact that Joshua is a true heavyweight force. He noted that the financial reward for both fighters would be enormous, but didn't shy away from addressing the danger involved. Hearn warned that putting an inexperienced Paul in with someone as proven and powerful as AJ could be disastrous, describing it as a kind of mismatch that might seriously damage Paul's career, whether in a literal sense or simply by reputation.
Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, 50-50 fight. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just said in another interview, great if it is. I mean, if it is, then you've got no problem seeing it. But when AJ, I mean, decapitate's a strong word, but you know, when he renders Jake Paul unconscious like he did to Francis Ngannou, don't then say, oh well, it was Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when AJ beat Francis Ngannou, Ngannou just had a fight that could have gone either way with Tyson Fury. Then AJ poleaxed him and everyone just said he's just an MMA fighter. Do you know what I mean? Jake Paul's not Francis Ngannou. But as I said before, if you want to see Jake Paul exit the boxing world...
Even so, Hearn recognized that Paul is deliberately targeting established professional fighters who can generate massive paydays.
AJ, ever so quickly, I watched Jake Paul at the weekend. I feel a bit dirty saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but he did say after the fight that he's sort of having DMs or he's dropping text messages to AJ. They're having a chat about a potential fight. What's your view on that, Eddie?
Well, look, he's calling out Gervonta Davis, who is a 135-pound lightweight, and he's calling out Anthony Joshua, that's a heavyweight monster. I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul. Hopefully not literally, but it's that dangerous that, you know, it's a fight that I don't think should really happen, if I'm honest. I would say about Jake Paul, and I've said this in a couple of interviews today, I do think you start after giving him a margin of respect. You know, I think this guy is going through the motions, he's putting the hard spars in. He just went 10 rounds with, yes, a washed-up fighter, but a former world champion that did train for that fight. But they're very clever in terms of the opponents that they pick. They're not going to gamble unless the money's out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul, wanted to move forward with an Anthony Joshua fight. Honestly, AJ's coming tonight. He's not exactly looking at Jake Paul going, oh, that's my dream opponent. Would he go in there and give him a hiding for, you know, a massive chunk of money? Probably. I'd be saying yes.
Simon Jordan has admitted that, despite all his criticism, the matchup between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul could actually benefit the sport in certain ways. He acknowledges that the fight is guaranteed to pull global attention, attract millions of viewers, and create major financial opportunities across the board. Jordan also noted that boxing is a business, and pairing a former heavyweight champion with one of the world's biggest digital stars is bound to generate massive revenue, media buzz, and mainstream coverage. In his view, the spectacle will appeal to casual audiences, fuel conversations, and keep boxing in the headlines. Although he still questions how competitive the fight will really be, he understands that from a commercial and publicity standpoint, this event has the potential to be a huge win for the sport.
It's the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
many people wouldn't have this.
Well, I'm not having,
because this isn't a proper fight where a Saturday night is.
But I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And will I watch it? No. And do I value it? No. But when I'm asked to be confronted with a fight between two legends' sons and then get involved in all of the nonsense that goes.
Simon Jordan has also taken aim at the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight, arguing that the promotion leaned more on nostalgia than genuine sporting value. He claimed the event was being marketed largely on the fame of their fathers' iconic rivalry from the 1990s, rather than on the accomplishments of the fighters themselves. According to Jordan, promoters were using history as a selling point to distract from a matchup that didn't add up competitively, especially with Ben having to move up in weight, while Eubank Jr. was forced to drop down in a potentially risky cut. Jordan drew a parallel to the Joshua versus Jake Paul situation, calling it another obvious money-driven event rather than a legitimate contest. In his view, pairing a former heavyweight champion with a social media personality is a mismatch that harms the sport's credibility. He even questioned whether a fight like this should be sanctioned, expressing concern for Paul's safety and cautioning that Joshua could damage his own legacy by agreeing to it.
The kind of returns that they're going to get for the level that they've operated in their careers. And that's one of my issues around the Conor Benn Eubank fight. This fight over here with Anthony Joshua, I know what this is. No one can dress this up. This is a turd that will get polished into a huge pile of money. And if you know that from the outset, so I don't have any illusions about it. Neither does anybody else. Nobody thinks that this is a real fight. Nobody thought. I mean, Spencer tried his very level best, and will never try it again, to convince us that Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Well, this is something similar, but for different reasons. Anthony Joshua is still a live heavyweight, and if he hits Jake Paul's going to get hurt. Yeah. And some people might think that's a good thing to happen to him, to learn his lesson. But he is also now fighting. He's got a fighter's license. And the question should be along the lines of what Chris Eubank Sr. was raising. Is it right? Is this appropriate that a high-performing supreme athlete like Anthony Joshua, whose only real challenges now are probably in his mind, because physically he can operate at the highest level if he still chose to, should be stepping in against someone like Jake Paul that does not have the skill set to deal with the kind of power and expertise that Anthony Joshua has? And should boxing be sanctioning this? This is the bigger question.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Having said all that, Netflix tell us 60 million households worldwide tuned in live to see Mike Tyson take on Jake Paul. Why would Jake Paul end up fighting?
Adding even more buzz to the conversation, boxing icon Roy Jones Jr. shared a surprising take on the potential Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup, one that focused more on caution than excitement. He emphasized that the fight should only happen if it benefits Joshua on both a compet.
I'm going to change subjects just a little bit here. And Anthony Joshua, there's rumours circulating he could be fighting Jake Paul next. One, do you think it's good for boxing? And two, do you think the fight will happen?
I think it's great for boxing. I think the fight will happen. AJ is 1-0 against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's a perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out? And for him, he probably make more money fighting Jake Paul than he will fighting anybody else that he can fight right now. So why would he not do it? I mean, not that he needs the money right now anyway, but if he's going to do something, if you want to get a good win to put him back on the scene, that's the purpose.
Dave Farrer and Spencer Oliver explored the growing public debate surrounding a potential Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight. Interest spiked after Saudi boxing official Turki Alshik hinted at approving the matchup during a TalkSport appearance at Wembley. Alshik mentioned that Paul has verbally agreed to the bout and suggested it could serve as a clear test of legitimacy, framing it as a situation where Joshua would likely dominate, creating a decisive outcome for both fighters.
Does he really want to smoke? I mean, he's got to be an idiot if he does, because Anthony Joshua, let's use this as a comparison. Francis Ngannou called Anthony Joshua out after pushing Tyson Fury the way that he did, and he looked at that and he went in there and he iced him in 2 rounds. Francis Ngannou versus Jake Paul, you got to go heavily on Francis Ngannou, haven't you? So what's going to happen to poor Jake Paul if he boxes Anthony Joshua, this Olympic gold?
Copinger has voiced serious concerns over the potential Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, suggesting that Paul seems motivated more by the financial windfall than by sporting credibility. Copinger noted that while negotiations are progressing, significant obstacles remain, particularly around broadcast deals and official sanctioning. He pointed out that Joshua's size, power, and elite experience represent a dramatic step up from anyone Paul has previously faced, making the matchup potentially risky. While the fight's commercial appeal could drive it forward, Copinger warned that it raises important questions about Paul's safety, his legitimacy as a boxer, and the overall integrity of the event.
Breaking story on Ring Magazine. Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalising a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell the Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger. What do you make of that?
Well, Anthony Joshua was talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look, it's prize fighting at the end of the day, and the way that Joshua will see it, and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way.
I don't like it
No,
either.
I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua will see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab, but at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking? Nah, definitely not.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be licensed because it's...
Share your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what you think. Interview 16. That wraps up today's breakdown. Be sure to stay tuned for more updates, and we'll catch you next time.